A cry for help amid the storm, when Typhoon Bualoi swept through central Vietnam. Central Vietnam, a land known for its sun, wind, and the unyielding spirit of its people, once again had to endure the fury of nature as Typhoon Bualoi made landfall. With powerful winds and relentless rain, the storm left behind heartbreaking destruction that words can scarcely describe. The typhoon claimed lives, caused injuries, destroyed homes, and disrupted livelihoods. Entire neighborhoods were submerged, electricity and water systems collapsed, and roads became impassable. Families faced sleepless nights, clinging to each other while fearing for their safety as the storm tore through their villages. In Thanh Hoa, Nha Trang, Ha Tin, and Quang Tri, the hardest-hit provinces, roofs were blown away. Power poles snapped like twigs. Landslides buried roads, and homes collapsed under the rage of wind and water. The aftermath was not just property loss but also deep emotional scars as families mourned loved ones taken by the storm's ferocity. Prayers and words of comfort. In the midst of chaos, when lightning splits the darkened sky and the rain seems endless, the human heart naturally yearns for peace and hope. Yet even in such moments of despair, faith can become a refuge, and compassion shines as a guiding light. Let us offer heartfelt prayers for those who lost their loved ones. May the departed find eternal rest, and may the grieving find comfort in God's love and the support of others. Families whose homes have been damaged, may courage and hope help them rebuild, piece by piece, and bring laughter back to their homes. Those struggling with flooded streets, landslides, loss of power, and food shortages, may relief come swiftly, bringing shelter, clean water, and safety to all. Rescue workers, soldiers, doctors, and volunteers braving the storm, may they be blessed with strength, protection, and unwavering compassion as they save lives. A prayer from the heart. Lord, calm the winds and silence the rain. Bring light into this night of fear. Hold the broken-hearted close, and let hope rise again like the dawn. Even in the darkest hours, faith whispers that the storm will pass, and light will return. Hope for a new dawn. No storm, no matter how fierce, can fully extinguish the resilience of the human spirit. After the rain, roofs will be rebuilt, power lines restored, and roads cleared, but even more importantly, hearts will heal as communities come together with love and solidarity. Central Vietnam, be strong. To all those enduring loss and hardship, know this: you are not alone. The wind and rain may shake the earth, but faith, compassion, and courage will remain unshaken. With prayers and love, may peace return soon, and may every family find hope and safety once more. Today's Gospel according to Luke, chapter 9, verses 43b to 45. At that time, while everyone was still marveling at all the things Jesus had done, he said to his disciples, "Listen carefully to what I am about to tell you. The Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men." But they did not understand what this meant. It was hidden from them, so they did not grasp it, and they were afraid to ask him about it. Sharing the Word of God today. In this passage, Jesus continues to reveal to his disciples the path he must walk, but they still failed to understand its true meaning. After performing the miracle of healing a child possessed by a demon, the crowd was filled with awe at the power of Jesus. Yet immediately afterward, Jesus told his disciples, "The Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men." The disciples did not understand and were too afraid to ask him. This gospel passage invites us to reflect on three key points. 1. The greatness of God's power. The crowd's amazement at Jesus' miracles is a testimony to the power of God. This power is not only revealed through supernatural works but also through his love and mercy. It invites us to place our trust in him more deeply, knowing that his power is always for our good. 2. The mystery beyond human understanding. Despite Jesus predicting his passion and death several times, the disciples could not fully comprehend its meaning. Similarly, in our own lives, we often struggle to understand God's plans, yet we are called to approach him with humility and faith, trusting that everything he allows has a greater purpose and leads to salvation. 3. Accepting God's will amid fear and confusion. The disciples were afraid and did not dare to ask Jesus about what he said. This reflects human weakness and fear when faced with the mystery of suffering and the cross. In our lives, too, we encounter moments of fear and confusion. It is precisely in those times that we are invited to look to Jesus, to surrender to his will, and to let him guide our steps forward.
cơn bão cho đến bây giờ cũng đang rất là